Again, welcome. As you know, we put up a kind of a key beginning question to all of our participants to see how much you know about tobacco use in Virginia. And if you were listening at last month's webinar with Kyle and Michael doing data presentations, you may very well know this question right off. Tiffany is going to put the question on the screen right now. What is our current adult non-smoking rate in Virginia? Is it 14%, 31%, 62%, or 86%? Again, if you were on our call last week, you may remember this. Our current adult non-smoking rate in Virginia. A couple more seconds, put that on there. I think everyone will get this correct. Or most people. Okay, there was some wide variance still. So it's 86. 86 is our current adult non-smoking rates in Virginia. So 86% of the population in Virginia do not smoke, yet sometimes many organizations, including casinos, will cater to those that do smoke, which is only 14% in Virginia. So that's why this is so important to really tackle this issue so that we have safe places for everyone in Virginia. And people will stay longer at the casinos and they will play longer at the casinos. And I think it's just a win-win for everyone. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce our two speakers today, because this is the first time I've met them this morning. But the work they've been doing, I've heard a lot about and really impressed with the advocacy and the commitment that you have to smoke-free air in Virginia, in New Jersey, in the nation, that really makes you committed to working toward this issue. And it's a very, very important issue. As I mentioned, they are both part of the CEASE Coalition, which is Casino Employees Against Smoking Effects. And we have Pete Nacarelli, who is a co-founder of CEASE. And he started this entire process in New Jersey. So he has been through probably every aspect of what Virginia is going to go through from the start to where he's at now. So Pete, thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Juana Wilson, and she actually briefly worked at the Rivers Portsmouth Casino until the smoke effects, the lingering smoke effects became too much for her and her health. And she realized that she was not going to sacrifice her health to continue working in a place that was not healthy. So she's going to also tell her story, and she started the Virginia CEASE Coalition. So again, as you're sitting on the call this morning, we're all in local communities, and we really want to learn how it may have been done in New Jersey, right? And what Pete has worked through, and how Juana has started working in Virginia, and how we can come alongside them and encourage the casinos, either through state law or at a local level, to have smoke-free casinos. So I'm going to stop talking. Pete and Juana, again, thank you so much for just taking some time out of your morning and joining us. And please, everyone, put the questions in there, because afterwards, I think we will have some time for a lot of discussion about this. So thank you again. I'm going to turn it over to you, Pete.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for having us. We appreciate what you guys do. So thanks again. My name's Pete Nacarelli. I started, so now my cohorts would be upset if I said I started CEASE. I have two other partners in crime who we work in tandem with, Lamont and Nicole. And we started CEASE, well, I'll get into that right after the pandemic, but we all work in the casino. I've been working in the casino for 27 years. I deal and I supervise. I've been doing that for 27 years. And before I got into this advocacy thing, I've never been involved in any advocacy of any kind. So that's number one. And number two, I've never known anything about politics, never got into politics, didn't understand politics. So that was kind of a new thing for us as well, like that we've learned along the way. But when I first started this, to me, smoking was a minor inconvenience. We've been dealing with smoking in Atlantic City since its inception. So I got into the business in 1996 in Atlantic City, and there was smoking. Mind you, at that time, you're allowed to smoke in bars, restaurants, airplanes, Even before that, you were allowed to smoke in hospitals. So smoking was just a regular occurrence. So to me, it was a minor inconvenience. I didn't know what it was doing to my body until I got into this cease advocacy and realized that this is killing me. It's killing me and my coworkers. So it turned into a more pressing problem for me when that occurred. So let me get back to the beginning where we started. So the pandemic hit in early of 2020, and the casinos were shut down until July of 2020. When we came back from the pandemic to the casinos, there was no smoking allowed in any casinos in New Jersey because of the pandemic related. We went a whole year, 12 months without smoking. So when July hit and that 12 months ended in July hit of 2021, as soon as that 1201 struck and that 12-month period ran out, they started handing out ashtrays and people started smoking, and it really got us fired up. Got me fired up, especially. Going a year without smoking in a casino was fresh air. Nobody complained. The players walked outside to smoke. We didn't have to deal with smoke, and it was just fantastic. Now, in New Jersey, since 2006, there's been a Smoke-Free Air Act. I guess not all states have that, but you're not allowed to smoke in any indoor building. As a matter of fact, you're not allowed to smoke in parks, beaches, zoos, a lot of outdoor areas too. So, people were used to walking outside or going to a smoking area to smoke. So during that 12-month period, nobody complained, everyone understood, and everybody was happy. Well, when they brought smoking back, people started smoking in the casino, obviously, because they can, and it's convenient, So it really kind of lit a fire. I got real upset. I called. I'm friends with Lamont and Nicole. We started talking, and Nicole hooked up with a local advocacy group here in Atlantic City called Smoke-Free AC, and they ran a rally on the beach. So Lamont is not technically sound, and he asked me to spread the word on Facebook. At the time, because of all the political stuff going on at that time, I had gotten off of Facebook. And so I wasn't on there. So I said, Lamont, I'm not really on Facebook. So so I called him after the rally to ask him how it went. And he was very disappointed. He said, we had a smoke-free rally. We had over 10,000 employees who work in Atlantic City, and we had about 25 people there. He goes, it was very disappointing. I don't get it. Nicole went up and made a speech, and they had put her speech up on the internet, and she was fantastic, riling people up, getting excited. Her passion was unbelievable. But there was only 25 people there, and we couldn't believe it. We were like, that's crazy. Like, we can do better than that, So it kind of lit a fire under us, and we said, let's start something from the bottom up. Again, we didn't know anything about what we were doing. We just knew that we knew people in the industry. Atlantic City is a town where there was 12, I think there's 9 or 10 now, casinos that are within a mile of each other. So everybody knows everybody in the town, or somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, So, so I got on Facebook. I said, well, we got to start this on Facebook. We talked a little bit, figured out how we're going to do it. We came up with a name, Cease. We said, let's just try to start something and let's try to fight back. And so we put it out on Facebook to all our friends, and those friends got friends, and those friends got friends. And like, to our surprise, within 2 weeks, we had thousands of members, and we were shocked. So now we're sitting here leading thousands of people and not having any idea what we're supposed to be doing. So it was quite interesting and a little bit scary. So we kind of just went at it head on. We just said, let's just yell as loud as we can. Again, we don't know anything about politics. Neither one of us, and any of the three of us, know anything about politics, and we don't know anything about, about advocacy. None of us had ever done any kind of advocacy before. So we said, we're just going to yell as loud as we can and hope someone hears us. So we put together a rally. We found a park, put together a rally. We had a microphone. We got maybe 100 people in a park. We're looking back, it was one of our most proud moments. We had a lot of issues. The microphone stopped working. Someone in the crowd had a bullhorn, so we grabbed the bullhorn, and that's what we used. And it's kind of funny looking back on it, but it worked. and it got people, fired up. And the biggest thing that happened after that was we got the attention of ANR, America's Nonsmokers Rights. So when that happened, they contacted us and they said, look, we have, years of experience in advocacy. So we would like to, help you guys out. We're looking for grassroots, and supposedly, from what I've gathered, is that local advocacy groups and national advocacy groups have trouble getting people on the ground to gather, and that they were looking for something like that to happen. So it was kind of the perfect marriage. They came to us and we hooked up, and so now they had the advocacy experience, and they brought with them experience with the media, experience with the message, experience with politics. And we brought to them a group of thousands of workers who said, hey, we don't want to take it anymore, so help us out. So that happened within relatively short amount of time, within a couple months, from us starting this thing to it growing that big, and then getting ANR, America's Nonsmokers Rights, involved and kind of starting to lead us in a direction that, so we had a single direction, we had a way to go, we had a path and an understanding. They taught us a lot, and they had understanding. They gave us an understanding of where we were supposed to be headed to get this done. So in the last couple of years, fast forward, we've had a couple more rallies. We've had a bunch of media stuff, interviews. It's kind of been a whirlwind of just things going on. But throughout that process, we were on media. We were on news across the country, and through that, local states of local news have reached out to us saying, hey, we want to do something like cease where we are, because I don't want to deal with the smoke either. So we've gotten calls and emails and stuff about starting their own chapter of cease, which we were very happy to oblige. So we kind of went over how cease works and kind of what we did and how ANR works. And fast forward to now, we have chapters in obviously New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Kansas, Indiana, Las Vegas, Louisiana, and Virginia, all with their own leaders, all doing their own advocacy thing, and all trying to get smoking out of the casinos in their area. And Virginia especially, we have Joanna, who reached out, and she was upset about what was going on. And we said, hey, you want to lead the people in Virginia with a chapter of cease down in Virginia? And she was more than willing to jump on board and do that. So Joanna, I don't know if you want to speak about Virginia now a little bit.
Sure. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to unmute myself.
No, good.
Good morning. So yes, I'm in Virginia. And a little bit about my past is I worked in the casinos in Las Vegas years ago. Eventually I worked my way back to Virginia and, started growing a family and doing my thing. And, now it's 18 years later, and I was so excited when I heard that they were going to have the first casino, and it was going to be here in the area. So naturally I applied and was very excited, thinking about getting involved in the casino again. I did get hired as a slots attendant. Never in a million years, since this area has been non-smoking forever, never in a million years did it enter my mind that the casino might be a smoking facility. Even while we were prepping the casino for the grand opening and the soft opening, smoking was, it was just never thought about. And it wasn't discussed with me anyway. And it wasn't until the night before the soft opening, when they started handing out ashtrays and telling us to put them out, that I was like, what are we doing with these? What is this for? Well, it's a smoking facility. And me and a few other employees were really shocked to hear, that the whole building was going to allow smoking. I don't know how many people are local, but if you are, you know that when Rivers Casino finally opened, the grand opening, you know, it was very exciting, but within a couple of days, the smoking was the big issue that was discussed on the news. And everybody was talking about it. It was like, yeah, Rivers open, but oh my gosh, the smoke. Because the smoke was so thick with people smoking cigarettes, cigars, marijuana. It was so crowded in there, they couldn't even tell who was smoking what. Um, and it was very thick. So it was definitely an issue. A lot of people wouldn't go and still don't go. I mean, I have friends in the area that haven't stepped foot in there because of the smoking. Um, so, you know, we all went to work. We kind of dealt with it. A lot of people had moved here from other states. Um, you know, they were excited. A new casino, there's going to be a lot of money. You know, they were excited to be able to provide for their families, only to get here and the smoking was an issue with a lot of the workers. Within the first few days, one of the girls that I was very close with and had built a good friendship with quit because she had asthma, and she actually almost passed out on the floor. In one of the first days we were open, security escorted her into the back of the house, which is non-smoking, escorted her back there so she could do her inhaler, and she just had to quit. She couldn't do it. I also noticed that, like, when I'd be on break going in the back, which I tried to get back there as often as possible because I was having a hard time breathing. You know, so that was really the only place you could run real quick just to get a little bit of fresh air. You know, I've noticed security guys and other staff back there with their inhalers, you know, just dreading going back on a smoking floor. And, you know, there was a lot of chatter. You know, it's after COVID, so everybody had lung problems. Everybody was aware of, you know, the breathing issues. And like I said, Virginia's always, you know, been, well, not always, but I mean, it's been a non-smoking area for as long as I can remember now. So everyone was shocked that the casino kind of got around the non-smoking policy. We even have a Rosie's in Hampton, and they have a non-smoking room, but it's separate and closed off. But Rivers hasn't done that. So after a few weeks of being on the news regarding the whole smoke issue, they finally agreed to make half of the casino non-smoking. But there were no barriers put up. So when you walked into the front door, on your right, someone's holding a cigarette, but on your left was non-smoking. Everyone's still breathing the same air. You know, so it's still, it didn't really resolve the issue. I mean, it did quiet people down because it did look like they were putting in some effort, but reality wise, you know, you're still sitting next to smokers and the whole room was still filled with smoke, especially on the weekends and when they're busy, it's still very smoky. So I eventually, you know, I mean, we were all coming home. Some of us left our uniforms outside because the smell of smoke was so strong, nobody wanted to bring it into their house. So everybody's washing their uniforms when we get home, of course, taking showers, washing our hair. You know, it was a lot to try to get rid of the strong odor of smoke. We opened in January and it was winter and we would ride home with our windows down, you know, because it was just that strong. But eventually, I mean, I survived cancer and, you know, I'm like, I don't want to put myself back in a situation like that if at all possible, if I can avoid it. And that's kind of the route I took because I was having a hard time breathing when I was working. Like I said, I had to run to the back of the house just to try to catch my breath a lot of times. It just wasn't worth it to me to risk my health and my life and possibly getting lung cancer. And, you know, just it wasn't worth it to me to keep that job in the casino, where obviously the employer didn't care about what was happening to me. You know, it just wasn't worth it to me to work in a smoky environment. So once I quit, you know, I was watching on Facebook about how everyone was still discussing the smoking. I actually found a news article, a local news article that was talking about cease and how they were really advocating for non-smoking in casinos. So I was really excited, and I reached out to the group on Facebook, and that's how Pete and I connected. And you know, I was just very excited. Even though I'm not working there anymore, I'm very excited to fight for the people that do still have to work in that environment, because you know, you have no choice when you're in a casino, especially the dealers. You know, they sit at a table and people are constantly blowing smoke right in their face, and they can't walk away. Slot attendants, we could kind of walk away here and there. Dealers can't, you know, so I'm fighting for them. I mean, Virginia is new. We only have 3 casinos, and I'm really hoping to get the word out before we are in a situation like Las Vegas and Atlantic City, where people have worked in it for years and now they're dealing with all of the health issues that it's caused. You know, it's still new, and there's still time to hopefully stop it before, you know, people really get sick. So that's kind of where I am. You know, I'm just kind of following Pete's lead as to, you know, I've been reaching out to local legislature and, you know, trying to get the word out to the people in the casino.
Yeah, I'd like to just piggyback off of Joanna with, I mean, when we go, we talk to legislators, politicians a lot now for this issue, and she's 100% right. It shocked us because, you know, the casino business is what we grew up in. Joanna's kind of new to it, but like me, Lamont, Nicole, and a lot of people in Atlantic City, I started in the casino industry when I was 18. You know, it's been my career, and that's all we know. And so talking to politicians who live in the state of New Jersey and who benefit off the taxes, I mean, the casinos keep New Jersey afloat with the revenue that they generate and the taxes off of that. But talking to the politicians shocked us that most politicians we've talked to never have even been in a casino, or if they've been in a casino, they've been to a restaurant or walked through the slot area, and they don't know what we're going through. And we have to make sure we start off every interview or anything with a politician or even the media to make them understand what we go through 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And like Joanna said, when we're on a blackjack game, we are within a foot of a player, of 6 players who are staring directly at us, looking at their cards, and smoking. So they're blowing the smoke directly into our face. And so there is no escape. We're not allowed to turn our heads because we have upwards of millions of dollars sitting in front of us in a rack. So we're not allowed to turn our heads, and, you know, people could steal chips. We're not supposed to wave the smoke away because that's rude. I mean, it's torture. It's barbaric what we have to deal with. And a lot of politicians and just the public, some of the public, they don't understand. They think that it's like a waitress walking through the smoke, which is bad enough. But we're stuck there for 60 minutes at a time. Smoke. And I deal craps on a crap game. There's someone literally shoulder to shoulder with me, blowing smoke. And, you know, when you introduce alcohols now, like, listen, it's 2023 and people have got workers in Atlantic City, especially at the place I work at, and it's maybe because of cease, people have the workers have gotten a little more vigilant. So it's like, excuse me, sir, can you please blow that the other way? Or excuse me, miss, blow that smoke the other way. And there's a lot of times where they will do so. And oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. But when you introduce alcohol and you have people playing, gambling their money, they tend to forget, and it leaves their mind, and they're worried about their cars, and they're not thinking, and the smoke just gets blown directly into your face, like it or not. And it's terrible. It's terrible. And so anyway, Juan was 100% correct explaining that, because it's just, some people just they don't understand. They just don't understand. And when I first, like I said, when I first started in the business, it was an inconvenience. Like Joanna said, I take my clothes smell like smoke, and it was disgusting. It was like, ugh, I smell like an ashtray. But fast forward now, almost 30 years later, I have a family and kids. I'm not thinking about what my clothes smell like as much anymore. I'm thinking about whether I'm going to live to see them graduate, whether I'm going to live to see them get married. And we have people in Atlantic City casinos who are dying from cancer, from all smoke-related issues. Now, you can't pinpoint whether that happened because of smoke, but you can see people dying of, heart disease, cancer, and things like this. And we have people walking around with we had a woman who walked around with an oxygen tank because of a lung issue. I mean, it's not a coincidence. And so I'm now, it went from being a minor annoyance to now an extreme health issue, which is why we're fighting so hard for this thing, because there's thousands and thousands of people that have a chance to die just in Atlantic City. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands. With the way the casino industry is booming, there's just that many people. So, Joanna, are you done? I don't
Sure.
want to. Yeah. We did a speech in Indiana, kind of the same type of thing, and we were talking to local advocacy groups, and so we have some notes from that. We kind of researched internally how, again, because we're new to advocacy, and I didn't know anything about any kind of smoke-free advocacy group in Atlantic City until Nicole Lamont reached out to me. And talking to local advocacy groups, they say they have trouble getting people to join. And we've noticed that, like in I guess it's every industry, but in our industry in particular, because that's what we know, we almost don't trust outsiders. It's almost like, if you're not in the casino industry, you really don't know anything about the casino industry. And so when someone like approaches you on the street and says, hey, I want to get smoking out of the casinos, for all these years, it was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, yeah, thanks. We appreciate it, but it's never going to happen. So, we've realized by getting together and getting from internally getting us together, that the people around us obviously trust us more and were willing to join us in droves, And so we kind of came up with a couple points on maybe how how local advocacy groups can get grassroots moving by getting employees to join, to gather themselves, and then work with the local advocacy groups on how that, and to us, that works the best. Again, we're babies in advocacy, so I'm sure there's a lot of ways to get to the root of the problem. But to me, it seems the best if you get the workers banded together first, and then kind of branch out from there. So we just put together a couple things on the grassroots thing. Number one, like we said with the politicians who've never been in a casino, we talk to advocacy groups, and maybe some of you guys out there who've never even been to a casino. So when you're talking to a local advocacy group as a worker, and they say, hey, we want to help you, and then they start talking, and they've never even been where you've been, it makes you say they don't have no idea what they're talking about, and it kind of turns you off. So like we encourage that local advocacy groups spend time in the casinos, walking through the casinos, sitting at a game, maybe sitting at a slot machine, talking to some employees. You get a chance, because it's going to be hard for them to trust you if you don't speak the language and if you don't understand what's going on their end. The other thing big in casinos that's so different from every other industry, casinos are open 24 hours a day. We have 3 shifts, at least in Atlantic City. There's day, swing, and grave. Day shift goes from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Swing goes from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. and grave shift goes from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. So it's all throughout the day. So and ANR's kind of, I guess learned this as they've gone. We sleep and we don't work 9 to 5. So we're not available at maybe all business at regular business hours. And maybe the time we're most available might be at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday. And I know it's hard for advocacy groups because, you guys, that's your job and you work in 9 to 5 or you work what you work. But if you're going to work with casino employees, I think it's very important that you're really flexible. We work every holiday, we work weekends. And so that's when we're available and around. And so it's kind of, it needs to be a little flexible. So you can meet and be available for them. I mean, there's times when I get off a game and I'll go, yo, I just heard this, or I just heard that. And I'll call Lamont or Nicole. And, I'll try to call like our rep, our strategist, Danny. And it'll be like 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. A lot of people are sleeping, or on a Thursday, a lot of people are sleeping, but we just got to work 2 hours ago and we just heard a couple things and we need to get that to somebody. So not that you have to be 24/7, but it's just something that's a little different with our situation, I think, than anyone else's. So, again, like we put together this successful grassroots advocacy thing. We did like an internal type of investigation to put this together. So just a couple things of what we've learned. So we've learned exposure. If you can target social media was huge for us. If you could target social media platforms, and that's how Joanna got in touch with us, and that's how we run everything through our Facebook groups. If you can target casino employees specifically through social media, and kind of try to, I mean, look, it only takes one. Like we got together with me, Lamont, Nicole, and now we have 3,000 in New Jersey. Joanna's one person, but now she's growing her Virginia. So it takes one person that can reach other people. So if a local advocacy group can get one casino worker that has the connections to talk to thousands of others or hundreds of others, depending on where you are, that's all you need. So if you can target that one person, you could target a group and get that one person. To me, that's huge, and that's how you can get a grassroots thing moving. Availability, that's what we we're just talking about. Schedules are so different in a casino. It's just so our rallies. We have a rally coming up. We're calling it a cease block party. Actually, we're just trying to gather people together, keep them moving, because it's a time where the politicians are all off. But all our rallies are Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in that area, because most casino workers are off Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. Everyone's off during the week because everybody works on the week, and that's when it's most busy in the casino. And we also the shifts are 4 to 12 and 12 to 8. So we're trying to get the 2 different shifts to be able to come. So if we go 10 to 2, the group that works 12 to 8 can come before they work, and the group that works 4 to 12 can come after they work. And then the swing shift group, which is 8 to 4, which is where most people work, they all can come. So we have to strategically set our dates so people can come. There's never going to be anything where everybody can come to, because the casinos are always open. There's somebody always working. So, that's another thing that's kind of different. You can't just have a rally on a Saturday night or a Friday night and everybody can be there. That's when everybody works in our industry. Education. We had to learn a lot about the bill process. And we didn't understand a lot of people still don't understand their rights. They're afraid to talk. I'm afraid to speak up. I think that's one of the major things that the workers struggle with. We've always had a policy, like we kind of at the very beginning, when we started, we said, listen, we have a right to speak up for our rights. I mean, it has nothing to do with our casino. So we had a policy of never speaking bad about our casino. I mean, the casinos that's how we make a living. We don't want the casinos to fail. If they fail, I don't eat. My family doesn't eat. We want them to succeed. And so we had anyone we talk to, whenever we have a public setting or a public where there's media or someone, we always tell our people, you can fight for yourself, but don't speak bad about your casino. And that kind of helps them understand what they can and can't say, because they're scared to get fired. They're scared of, well, if I do this, am I going to get fired? And we've always been, you have rights to fight for your rights. Just don't speak ill of your casino. And, that's kind of one. So educating the workers is big. Let them know you don't have to be afraid if you phrase it the correct way, knowing that the casino workers that bother you the most are probably the ones with the most passion. So they're the ones you want. You want the people that are just like question after question after question after question and all over you. And, they're the ones that we look for, because they're the people that we know will be out there working hard and trying to get people, gather people, learn things. So, they're the ones that you guys are looking for, is that one that's just buzzing around and won't stop. When you have to say, man, that person's annoying me, that means that's the person you probably want. Listen to the employees. Again, it's a weird business. It's nothing like you've ever seen or heard of. They have their own language. They have their own schedules and times. There's a lot of things unique. It's its own world. So talking to them, listening to them, hearing their stories, understanding what they go through, so you can sympathize and empathize with the workers, knowing that, you can't, turn your head from smoke, that workers can't turn their head from the smoke and can't walk away, and knowing what they have to deal with on a daily basis is important. Because when someone approaches you and they have no idea what you're going through, it's hard for you as the worker to trust them and say, yeah, let's get together and start something. It's just not going to happen unless you understand what they're going through. What else? Oh, events like rallies. Our first rally was fantastic. Again, we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't even know who we were talking to. Like, we were just yelling at the sky and saying, somebody please help us. But gathering those people just to get them a little buzz going was fantastic and huge for us. As a matter of fact, we have that Cease block party coming up next month. And it's not aimed at anybody, but it's just to get the group together, get the buzz going again, get a little juice going, and just getting people talking again, because it's been a little while with the politicians going out, and it's been a couple months before anything's happened. We had some hearings in Trenton early this year, which was great. And we're very confident this will happen by the end of the year. But right now, there's nothing going on. So having a rally, having a gathering, having something going on unites the people and gets them talking. And then they go tell their friends, oh, where I was at today? I was at blah, blah, blah. And, oh, what's that? And that's how kind of we get more members, just the people that aren't on social media, aren't on Facebook, that are in different houses, again, I work at the Borgata. There might be someone at Bally's on grave shift that doesn't know anything about who I am or who we are and never heard of Cease. But when a friend says, oh, I'm going over to the Cease block party, and like, what's that? And then it starts them talking, and then talking to their friends that we never gotten to. And just rallies and gatherings and buzz creates buzz, which was really big for us. And the last thing I just had was gaining knowledge on the industry. I mean, that's, we kind of spoke about that with the other thing, but gaining knowledge was huge. And again, with this speech, we also kind of gave what we've learned, and maybe this will help you guys to understand how little that, and I don't want to speak for Joanna, she's a very, very smart, but how little we knew in Atlantic City. We were like, we called ourselves the three idiots at the beginning. We're like, we don't know anything about what's going on here. We don't know about politics. We don't know about advocacy. What are we doing here? So things that we've learned kind of along the way is we learned that it's an extremely slow process. We've been at this for 2 years, and we thought we all know, you guys know, there's no argument on the other side, especially now that the money's been debunked with different, like the C3 report, with different reports that are out, that casinos that have gone non-smoking have not lost a penny. So there's no argument against it. You're saving lives, you're making the same or more money. And so when we got together, we were like, all right, well, this should happen tomorrow. Like, there's no other argument. What the politicians should say, yeah, you're right. And it doesn't work like that. And we really did not know that at all, which is, again, may sound funny to some people who know politics and are in advocacy. We had no idea. We were like, this is a slam dunk. And it's not like that. It takes a long time, and it's got to be patient. We learned that we need public sentiment on our side with positive press. We have a press guy on ANR that taught us that. We had different messages. It was like, there's so many arguments in the casino with casino smoking. There's so many ways to go with between health and money. And I mean, and then within those, there's all different ways you can go with arguments, but they kept us on a one message. And our first message was, you shouldn't have to choose between your health and a paycheck. And that was our main message. So every time we did an interview, anytime we did a rally, we ended with, you shouldn't have to choose between your health and a paycheck. And that kind of drove us in a particular direction. So it gave us some direction of, this is how we're going to attack this. And so that's kind of was important. We didn't understand at first. We would say this and say that and say this and say that, but we kind of combined it and made it one strong message, which is something that we learned. We learned to play nice with legislature. I mean, when we first had this, we're like, what's wrong with these guys? I mean, are you serious? Like, we were upset and angry, and it was like, we wanted to say, like, are you dumb? What's wrong with you? Like, we're dying here. But we learned that we have to be nice. We have to thank them for their time, and we have to, we have to play nice with them. That's the only way to get what we need to get to. And we were as a matter of fact, we were at a charity bowling event put together by the Speaker of the Assembly in Trenton last night. And we're waiting for him to put the bill up. We have all the votes we need. We have the governor said he'd sign the bill. As soon as this particular gentleman puts the bill up, it's going to pass. And so we, instead of going there and saying, hey, when are you going to put the bill up? We had to say thank you for hearing us. Thank you for letting us come to Trenton and speak to you earlier this year. And we're looking forward to working with you. And, we had to phrase it in the correct way. And that's, again, something we learned. And that we have to teach our people. So when they're interviewed, when they're approached, they don't start flying off at the handle and, making matters worse. We have a really good group dynamic as well. We have 3 people. Joanna, people like Joanna, I feel bad for her. She's a party of one. She's a machine down there by herself. I have 2 people I can lean on. So right now, Nicole's having some family issues. Her mother is sick. So she's kind of been in the background for a couple weeks, but it's okay because me and Lamont are there to take over the reins. So we have people to lean on. So if you can find workers that have a good group dynamic and maybe 2, 3, 4 people that can run it instead of just one, it really helps because it takes the burden off of just one person. And I can't even imagine how that, I mean, I probably wouldn't be here right now doing this if it was all on me. So that's important too. And for you, Joanna, maybe you can find a partner in crime too. That might help. Yeah.
I'm hoping.
What's that?
I hope so.
Yeah, no doubt. I know it's tough. Like I said, it's much respect for that, Joanna. What else have I,
Pete, we have some questions too.
Yeah,
If you want to move on. Okay, sure.
Sure.
So first of all, thank you for that rundown. I think that's great to hear. I feel like a lot of big ideas kind of start with, just talk to your friends, and then, one thing leads to the next. And, just like you said, with those rallies, those block parties, it's, a lot can stem from word of mouth, and it just keeps going. And you talked about, your first rally, how not many people showed up, and that kind of really started and encouraged you, to, get on Facebook, and you end up getting thousands of supporters, right? And it's
Yep.
great that ANR, it was you made such a big noise, the ANR heard you, right? And
Yep.
so, you talked about ANR and how they helped you. I think you talked about the one message, to focus on, and that was really what you kept saying. And that was a great line. You shouldn't have to choose between your health or a paycheck. So can you touch on other resources that ANR has really helped with New Jersey that can probably also help in Virginia as well? You talked about playing nice with your legislators, the one message, positive press. Any other key takeaways that you want to mention?
Well, one of the biggest things was when we first started, we took any opportunity we had. Anybody who would speak to us, like we would travel. On a day we worked, we traveled an hour and a half to go talk to when we first started, this was a person who was running for legislator running for Senate General Assembly the following year. He was planning to run, so he wasn't even a legislator yet. And we drove because we were new, and we're like, let's take whatever we can take, interviews, anything. So we drove like an hour, almost an hour and a half. I drove like over an hour. Nicole drove maybe a little less than an hour to speak to him because he wanted to speak to us about this. And it turned out that he, obviously he didn't have any pull or power, but when we talked to him, he didn't understand what happened in the casino. He was like, well, don't they have good air filtration systems? And Nicole, we started telling him, and Nicole was crying, and he was like, you saw his face just change, like, wow, like I didn't know that this was really what it was like. And he contacted a friend. He had a good friend who was a local legislator who then turned out to be the senator in Atlantic City. And he hooked us up with this guy, and Vince Palestina, who's been with us ever since. He came to our rally, spoke, and just that contact of making that move to go see him, even though he didn't have any power. But we didn't know he knew anyone, but he knew someone who then got us up to the legislator, the senator level, and then now all of a sudden we're talking to senators. So every opportunity, any interview, we did interviews with radio stations that didn't even have any listeners, or podcasts or whatever. But just anything you could do, just because if that you don't know what one person's going to hear, that's going to be like, oh, I know this guy or I know that girl, and we can, so that was very important too. That's the only other thing I really wanted to
No, I think that's great. It's always networking. Like I always think every opportunity is a networking opportunity, right? Because you just never know, down the line, when I go out doing things, even if they're not in an organization that's really fitted with like, what we work with, I'm like, if you ever have an idea, so in the back of their head, if they ever think about something tobacco related, then they'll kind of remember me or something, someone knows someone all the time.
Definitely.
And then how did you, you talked about, last night you're talking to someone and he's gonna, put that bill out. So how did that start? Did ANR start, like, did they write the bill or how? Because at the end of the day, we want to change policy. We want to kind of do that too. So how did you, I guess, what are the steps that you got there?
Well, ANR was huge in helping. So the ANR sent us a strategist and a media guy, so they really helped us in that realm because, again, we needed lots of help with knowledge. We knew nothing, so we started talking to politicians. Like I said, at the first, we had to drive an hour to talk to a guy who wasn't even a politician yet, was hoping to be a politician. Fast forward 6 months later, we have politicians calling us, when word got out, media, when politicians understood that we weren't one person speaking, we were 2,500 and now 3,000. So now all of a sudden, now they want to hear what we have to say, which was awesome. But we got you get a sponsor who writes the bill and sponsors the bill from each side of the house. I guess every state's different, but in New Jersey, we have a Senate and a General Assembly. We need a bill on each side. So we got a sponsor from each side. And then you want to get co-sponsors. Now, when we first started this thing, we had 7 co-sponsors. We had 7 sponsors of bill. Between sponsor and co-sponsor, we had 7 out of 120 legislators. And now we have 85. So by talking to people, getting them, hey, we have this bill up, can you co-sponsor? And then what happens is when one guy co-sponsors, or he goes to, when he's eating lunch with his friend and said, oh, I was doing this today with this group that's trying to get, oh, really? I'm interested in that. And then they call us and say, what's this all about? And we tell them, and then they co-sponsor. And then they it's almost networking the same way with them. And also we try to get meetings with the politicians. So whether it be Zoom or whether it be, driving up to Trenton, we've been talking to politicians for the last 2 years saying, hey, this is what we're about. We've even gone up to Trenton. We sit in a hallway, and when they walk by, we stop them and say, hey, this is what we're about. We hand them a cookie. We bring cookies. We hand them a cookie. We say either thank you for sponsoring or would you like to sponsor? And we've gathered sponsors that way. So that's how we know we have the votes. We have almost 90 sponsors out of 120.
How was it hard to find that first sponsor on each side?
Oh yeah, it was
I feel
just
like that's
getting,
the hard
getting
part,
to the
right?
point. Yeah, getting to the point where they want to listen is hard. But once you get one,
Okay.
it just kind of snowballs from there, And so
Yeah.
that
And
one was huge.
ANR, oh, sorry, did ANR, was this all the support provided for free, or was there some kind of payment or anything?
No, A&R found us, and
Okay,
I
perfect.
think what A&R. I mean, I'm sure you guys know. We're still learning about A&R. We've been with it for 2 years. We're still trying to figure out the structure and how it works. But A&R is a national advocacy group, and I think what they saw from us in New Jersey was a bunch of us gathered and like a chance, like wow, this is like maybe our best chance to get something done. And Atlantic City is it's a huge market in gaming. It's the second biggest gaming market in the country behind Las Vegas. And so if New Jersey can go non-smoking, it opens up the door for the rest of the country,
Definitely.
So it was a big
Definitely.
market, and they saw that we already had thousands of people gathered. So I think they saw that and said, hey, let's let's join forces here. And it's just been a match made in heaven. It's been great.
Yeah, definitely. We have more questions. We don't have a lot of time, but I did want to give Juwan, if you wanted to say anything before we close out, just give you a few minutes too. Or if you want to, share your information, if you have an email, if you want, because people on these call might, there might be, your sidekick on this call. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. No, well, I mean, I would like to just say that it's like Pete said, he is like second in line behind Las Vegas. Virginia's on a much smaller scale. So, um, me building, my group here it's a little more difficult because the 3 casinos are so spread out. And I do have some people that are interested, like I said, I mean, in the immediate area, but the numbers are nowhere near what Pete has. And I have also, talking about legislature, I have reached out to over 100 of the legislature in Virginia, and I got one positive response, which is great for me. I was like, yay, we got one. But right now, it's like Pete said, it's pretty quiet. But once we get into the fall and stuff, and everybody gets active again, I'm gonna get back to knocking on those doors. But it was a big accomplishment for me, and I was really excited about that. So,
Definitely.
we're moving up from the ground level, and
Yeah.
you know,
And we can
very
connect you to, we have a statewide coalition called Tobacco Free Alliance of Virginia, and there are a lot of supporters through, and that's statewide. So,
great.
we can bring you in too to share a story, because you don't know if, someone from that meeting may know someone who can help you. Just like Pete said,
Absolutely.
someone knows someone who knows someone, and we have people from American Heart, that can definitely help as well. So I think this is, thank you so much for both of your stories, and Pete kind of telling us step by step, what you've learned. And, we may be reaching out some more in the future to help us with Virginia to make some moves. And Joanna,
Thank you.
I'm sure I work at Portsmouth Health Department, so I'm down the street. I live in Virginia Beach. So, I understand the local, effect this had. So I'm going to turn this to Gina to kind of close us off. But thank you again to Joanna and Pete for everything you've talked about today and sharing your resources and your stories.
Hey, Nicole,
Thank you.
real quick, I just want to let anyone out there, if they have any questions or anything, any advice or anything, to reach out. I mean, we're always willing to.
Perfect.
We're all in this together,
Yeah, and we can share your emails too when we email everyone the recording and
Absolutely.
everything. Okay, perfect.
Thank you both. And Juana, I did want to say you are not alone. We are with you on this. And definitely we're going to send you an invitation to the Tobacco Free Alliance of Virginia, because this is one issue that we are really strongly working on and would love to join forces with you in doing this. And that one legislator, we would love to actually work with that person as well. Can you share that name now or not?
I'd be more than happy to share it. It's Delegate Kelly Converse Fowler.
Okay, perfect.
And she seemed very excited to, help us. So I'm excited to have her along.
Well, we would love to work with you on this. And thank you so much for sharing your story, Pete. Thank you also for just sharing what New Jersey is going through. If I understood you correctly, by the end of the year, did you say New Jersey would have smoke-free casinos, or did I?
Yeah, we're
Correct.
very confident
Excellent.
that that will happen by the end of this year.
Wonderful. Well, your work has paid off, and it's paid off for those employees, because I think you said it best with your statement. You should not have to choose between health and a paycheck. No one should. So again, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us. I know we're going 1 minute over, but I did want to invite everyone to our August 15th webinar. We will be having success stories from throughout Virginia on their tobacco control, tobacco policy efforts. So please join us for that one. It's really great to hear local stories and how they're working through tobacco policy in the local communities, just like this one. So again, I will wrap up. Enjoy the rest of your week. Pete, Joanna, thank you so much again for joining us, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.